So today I want to talk to you about whether you have good boundaries in your business. So you might go, well, what's that got to do with pricing and things like that? But actually boundaries are incredibly important when it comes to pricing. And it makes such a difference if you've got really good, solid boundaries in place. Now, there's a thought that says that structure can stifle your creativity, but if you set your boundaries well and say, this is the time that I'm doing such and such, and this is the time that I'm doing such and such, it can really free you up creatively to work on the things that you know you're good at, and to spend other time working on things that you're not so good at, or that you find hard or boring and all of that sort of thing. So, and I think that boundaries over the last 2 years have just become totally mixed, and there's just no cutoff between work and life. I think we all have been working at home, and I think it's really important to really think about how you make that boundary between work and home. So there are kind of a few boundaries. So we're going to talk a bit about life boundaries. We're going to talk about working boundaries, client boundaries, and kind of how you might manage some of those things. So your life boundaries, these are ones around when you work, school hours, weekdays, weekends, evenings, whatever works for you. It doesn't have to be 9 to 5, but be conscious about it. So instead of going, oh, well, I'll just pick up the computer, I'll leave the computer and want to pick up the kids and then I'll be home again. Try really hard to say, actually, do I need to do that? Is that when I am working? And do I want to say, right, well, on a Thursday evening, I don't work, or on a Friday evening, I don't work, whatever it is. Do you say some evenings you just say, do you know what? I just don't want to do anything. But be conscious about it. When are you working and when are you not working? And where are the spaces for you not to work? Because working all the time absolutely, totally ruins your productivity. If you've never read the book Do Less by Kate Northrup, I highly recommend it. She talks a lot about the cycles. So it's, the women's cycles and menstrual cycles and the moon and all of that sort of stuff. But she also talks a lot about doing less makes you more productive. And I think that's a really important thing, is that actually if you go off, have a day where you do something completely different, you go for a walk, you go and meet a friend, you do something, even if you think you haven't got time, it is incredible then how quickly you can get other stuff done when you've had a break from it all. That it's tempting a lot of the time to think, I've got so much to do, I've got so much to do, that actually you never really take a break. And that actually by having a week off to go and visit a friend, or spending some time with your children where you're not thinking about work all the time, actually can really make a big difference to how productive we are when you get back. So be really clear about that. The other kind of life boundary is that kind of working from home, can you be interrupted thing. So I work at home. My children are fortunately not here most of the time, they're at school, but it's very clear. I have a space where I can work. It is our spare bedroom, but I do have a space where I can work. And it's really important that you kind of, my husband also works at home, and we have he doesn't assume that I'm going to do all the jobs and the answering the door, and friends know that I work, so they don't come around for coffee. We arrange it, and that's how it works. If you are in a situation where that's not happening, what can you do to help with the boundaries? Can you close the door? Can you say, I don't come out until 5 o'clock? Can you say, I'll come out for half an hour when you come home from school, and then I won't? Or sit down and talk to your partner and say, do you know what, actually, I can't be doing all of these things. Or you need to find yourself a co-working space, or take yourself off to a cafe, or whatever it is that will help you. Because I think it's so easy when we get interrupted every 2 minutes to not do that. And on that, I think batching is a really, really important part of all of this stuff. Batch up your work. It makes it much easier if you sit down and say, so like today, I sit down, I record a video, I'll do an Instagram live, I will do a reel. So I've got my makeup on, I'm ready to go, and I'll do it on a day where I know that's useful. So batch up your work, do several podcast episodes, write 2 blogs, write all your emails for the week, do all your social media for the week. And it suddenly just makes life just a little bit easier because you're focused on that one thing. And it kind of means that you're not in and out of things, because it takes us quite a long time to switch between things. So then you're going to talk a bit about working boundaries. So this is this sort of stuff, which is about batching. Do you take meetings any day of the week? So actually I say I'm only available 10 till 4, 3 days a week. And even then I keep quite a close eye on my diary and go, actually my diary's now got too full and I need to make sure that I actually cut that off and say I'm not having any more meetings that day. So I keep quite a close track of when people have booked in clients and kind of go, actually, that's going to be too much for me. But it's also much easier for me to say, right, well, actually Tuesday I'll be back to back all day pretty much. And then Wednesday I won't do anything. I won't do any calls, so I can actually do some work, because otherwise you find, you know, you've got somebody at 10 and then somebody at 11:30 and then it's lunchtime, and then you might have somebody at 2 and then you have somebody at 4, and it's just it's so disruptive to your day that actually you can never get stuff done. So think about what boundaries you need to have in place around your working time that say, actually, so for me, I spend Mondays doing all my content. I tend to do all my content on a Monday, and I have Fridays as kind of either a day off or as an admin day. So I don't do any client work on that. I don't take any client calls on those days. Here we are on Wednesday doing this because half term. So actually there is a bit of flexibility in that, but it's just making sure that actually you decide a bit what works for you. You know, when are you most creative? Do you do all your best work before 12 o'clock? Don't do client calls. I often try to take mine in the afternoon. I'm much better in the morning, so much more productive first thing in the morning. So have a think about whether that works for you. And now we're going to talk about client boundaries. These are some of the hardest ones. So the kind of main ones are kind of going, right, these are my client boundaries. So these are my declared working times. So when you take on a new client, you are working Monday to Thursday, 9 till 3, whatever it is that you want to say that you do, what your turnaround times are. You know, do you get back to somebody in 24 hours? Do you get somebody in 48 hours? What's your kind of agreement about how quickly you'll get back to people? People expect a response quickly. So think about how you kind of manage that expectation. And also things like your preferred communication channel. So do you prefer WhatsApp? Do you prefer Slack? Do you prefer email? What is that? So I had a client the other weekend and I had to ask them not to WhatsApp me at the weekend. They asked me if I could do some stuff and I said, I'm really sorry, but I am with my family and I can't give you the attention it needs until Monday. And first thing Monday morning, we dealt with it. It was fine. But I was very tempted to say yes to that client. And actually I had to say, you know what, I can't deal with this till Monday, even though I knew it was pretty urgent. So have a real think about what those kind of general client boundaries are, and that also you need to reinforce them, right? Client messages me at the weekend because they're stressed and worried about their numbers. That isn't a cue for you to drop everything and do it. And if you do need to drop everything and do it, you need to think about whether you A, want to keep that client, whether you B, want to charge for weekends, or whether you want to have some support backup that will deal with that issue at the weekend if you need it. So it's really important to have those, because then you can kind of reinforce that, but you must reinforce them. Clients often, they don't even do it consciously sometimes, they just do it. And then they think, oh, well, why was I not allowed to do that? And actually, if you tell them they can't, suddenly it's like, well, actually, that's the power to you. Okay, because we all just keep pushing until we get all we want, either deliberately or not. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is kind of what we call scope creep. So this is where you have a project and you take on a piece of work and it all sounds great and you're like, and then suddenly you're doing 25 other things. So this is where the boundaries around a project are really important, and why I talk a lot about packaging and all of that sort of thing. But it's looking at what the project has in it. So making sure you're really clear what's in a project scope, what's in and what's out, just as importantly. Okay, it's really important to have what's out as well as what's in. Okay, so be really clear, and then you can reinforce that nicely when they overstep. So things like, you know, if you're a copywriter and you're writing something, how many revisions will you have? How many, if you're somebody who does logos, you know, how many choices will you get at the beginning as a fixed part of the cost? Because I think, you know, backwards and forwards in with the client is really time consuming. If you do a lot of revisions of things, it's massively, massively time consuming for you. So again, think about what that kind of looks like, and when you're thinking about packaging your services and kind of going, right, okay, well, if I do a branding thing, it's this, this, and this, what are the things that make it take a lot longer? When you're doing a project, think about, right, well, what made that one go a bit pear-shaped? You know, that one ended up taking me twice as long as I thought it was going to. What happened? Was it the client was asking you for things that they shouldn't be, and you didn't reinforce that and say, you know, actually, but you might go back and say, I'm really sorry, that's not included. I will do that this one time, but next time that will be charged. You don't have to be forceful about it. You just go, look, this is what we agreed, and we are now outside of that, and I need to charge you extra for that. Okay, and it's being quite firm without being aggressive or rude or anything like that. So let me know what boundaries you have in place. Are you good at them? I love a boundary, and I'm reasonable at it. It's one of the things I say I'm reasonable at, because I've got kids and I don't work well in the evenings. So actually, I do know that once I've picked them up, they're at school till kind of 4:30, so that helps a lot. But once I've picked them up from school, I give my time over to them and my energy to them, because actually I'm not great in the evenings, and by 8 o'clock I'm kind of done. So have a think about what really works for you in your business and how you can make that work better, and how you can enforce, you know, do you like taking the dog for a walk every day? Can you meet a friend to make that happen? I meet a friend every week for a walk, and that makes a massive difference to the fact that I go. You know, I don't go every day if I'm going on my own, but if I meet a friend, oh yeah, that's fine. You got a dog, that really helps. But what can you do to kind of reinforce your boundaries? And if you're interested in a bit more about this, get on the waiting list for my masterclass, which is how to grow your business. And we talk a lot about boundaries in that class, and all sorts of other stuff about how you can kind of grow your business, even if you don't want to be a 6-figure, 7-figure, all that horrible word, business, but you can get on the wait list below this. So take care, and I'll see you next week.